The first teaser trailer for the One Piece live action just dropped, so I went through it frame by frame to find every detail I could, and I put everything I learned in this video. We start with a shot of Fuchsia Village with Shanks' ship, Red Force, in the background. Both the village and Shanks' ship we have seen leaked photos of, but seeing it cinematically for the first time, it looks very nice. Next is our first shot of Luffy in all his glory. For his scar, we can see they went for a realistic look, which obviously was the right call, but has the unfortunate drawback of not being very noticeable.
The sea's been calling.
Luffy saying, "the sea's been calling," sounds a little funky to me, but I think the other dialogue sounds fine. Also in this shot, Luffy is wearing a new outfit that I think looks great and fits well in live action. Baratie, as we have already seen in the past, looks amazing, and also we see yet another new outfit for Luffy. If you don't recognize it, this is a shot of Shell's Town, and compared to the anime and manga, I think it looks a lot more detailed and interesting. And now we have the reveal of Zoro. I think his outfit is one of the most realistic looking outfits of the crew, and of the characters with colored hair, I think Zoro's green hair looks the best. It somehow manages to look like an actual natural hair color. The fight with Mr. 7 plays out really cleanly, and makes me really excited to see more of Zoro's fights in live action. Also for the design of Mr. 7, they followed the SBS drawing of Mr. 7, as we don't see him in the anime or manga. And I mean, damn, they did well for going off that simple of a drawing. I love that he's using scimitars as well, it makes him just a little bit more unique. Another thing about their fight that I found interesting is that Zoro isn't wearing his bandana in this fight, and he's not even using 3 swords, so he really just isn't even taking the fight seriously. Moving on to Nami, I think the outfit looks really good, but the hair, or wig maybe, is just way too orange. It does not seem like a natural hair color at all. Personally, I would have preferred a more natural redhead look. This photo of Emily Rudd is kind of what I'm talking about. If anything, this plus like 10% more orange. And in this first scene we see of her, she has her hair in the classic beginning series look, where it's short and she has it down. For a first look at Shanks, I think he looks really solid, and the hair coloring looks really nice. As good as Zoro's hair even. Obviously this is just from the back, so who knows how the front looks, we'll have to see that later. The other thing with this scene is that Shanks is on the boat that Higuma was on when he kidnapped Luffy. In the anime and manga, Shanks is never on this boat, so that is a slight change, but honestly in live action, it should make him saving Luffy a little easier to film. This next shot is cool and all, but what is even cooler is that right here is Luffy in the barrel. Buggy's introduction here makes him look terrifying, but if you remember, this is just how Buggy was actually introduced. At first in the series, he's meant to look silly but scary, kind of like in a 90s Joker way, and I think they nailed it. In this next scene, it's not super obvious, but Nami's hair has slightly changed and she has pigtails. In the anime and manga, she has the pigtails a couple times later on. Then we got a good shot of Garp's ship and a not so good shot of Garp himself. The following scene shows the Mary getting messed up, but this shouldn't be from Garp's ship, as Luffy doesn't run into Garp until Water 7. So these might be two completely different, unrelated scenes. And I know I'm analyzing this far too closely here, but in this scene we can tell the crew is in the back of the Mary due to the position of the masts. You can see in this photo what I mean by that. The main mast with the crow's nest is the mast in the front of the boat, but then being shot in the back of the boat means they are escaping from something. So my guess, which could be completely wrong, is that if it is not Garp's ship chasing them, then this scene is them trying to escape from Smoker after Logtown, but it could also be any number of different scenarios. And of course we see Usopp in his classic outfit, and he does not have a long nose, which is great to see because that would not have looked good in live action. But I love the live action look of Usopp, and in terms of adapting his look from the manga and anime, I think this outfit is some of their best work. Also in this scene we can see Nami on the left wearing some sort of hat. It almost looks like the straw hat. You can even see what might be the red band. However, I think this is a different hat because when we see Luffy and Zoro also duck from the cannon fire, Luffy has the hat on. And on that chain of thought, it could be possible that the shot of Usopp ducking and the shot of Zoro and Luffy ducking are actually separate scenes. But if you look at the angle of the curve of the railing, yes, I'm getting that deep into this, and how this wall and railing are placed, and compare them to this leaked photo of the Mary, you can tell that Luffy and Zoro are also in the back of the boat. And I think it's very unlikely that there are two separate scenes of the crew standing in the back of the boat and evading cannon fire. The last thing before I move to the next scene is that Zoro has another outfit here which looks pretty good. Luffy here in the water has yet another new outfit, And for our first look at Sanji, I like what I'm seeing. They decided not to go with the curly eyebrows, which I think would have been a disaster, and his outfit looks very clean, as it should. In this fighting scene, a lot of things happen. Luffy does a punch, and we kind of see his hand stretch as this extra completely just ragdolls. Zoro is using 3 sword style, and it looks probably as good as it could in live action. His teeth are barely on the hilt, but there is nothing they could really have done to make that look better. Nami is in this fight scene, which is interesting because at this point in the anime and manga, she was looking for things to steal, while just Luffy and Zoro were fighting the Marines. But her fighting with the staff looks pretty cool, and yet again she has the pigtails, or maybe it's a ponytail, I can't really tell. And my favorite thing here is Luffy fell down in the background, which is just such a Luffy thing to do, and it makes me happy to see they included some silliness like that. Next we see Usopp with his slingshot, and he's in a new outfit, and his slingshot and outfit both look very nice. Here's a scene with Sanji kicking Full Body's gun. Not a lot to read into here, just a nice looking adaptation from the anime and manga. We see a classic shot of Luffy sitting on the head of the Mary, and then the crew does the foot thing, and it's good that we see the foot thing because the foot thing happens after Logtown, which means pretty much for sure that Season 1 will cover all of the East Blue. In this last shot, we see an okay looking Gum Gum pistol, and hidden right here is Koby! I think Koby looks really great here. He looks wimpy, which is perfect, and looking at this Koby, I think the transition from wimpy Koby to badass Koby will seem far more realistic in the live action than it did in the anime and manga, where he just seemingly aged like 5 years in a couple of months. Another thing here is if you pause at the right time, you can see a full body picture of Alvida. We see her large club in all its glory, and also that she is normal sized. Seeing her normal sized is one of the only things that really worried me in this teaser trailer. Alvida herself being normal sized isn't a super big deal to me, but I'm more worried about what this could mean further down the line with characters like Whitebeard or Moria. If they chose not to do accurate sizes for those types of important characters, I think it would be a huge disaster. Honestly though, I'm not too worried about it because Alvida herself is not a very important character, and in Season 2 they're going to have to figure out a way to make giants. And however they figure that out, they could use that in situations with other large characters. Last, but certainly not least, we have a little dialogue with Luffy and Zoro, and I love everything about this scene. Luffy is just kind of awkwardly staring at Zoro the whole time while Zoro's getting up, and Zoro has a kind of nonchalant attitude that fits him super well. Let's move on to talking about the things we found out from this teaser. For the outfit design philosophy, it seems like they want to include the classic outfits for the crew, but then switch to outfits that still fit the characters but look better for live action and look less like cosplay. And fun fact, all of these alternate outfits are from different color spreads from the manga. For the most part, the outfits look pretty nice, but some of the hair coloring looks a bit too fake for me. Mainly Nami's hair just looks way too orange. Acting in just this teaser is good. Luffy's acting has potential. There's the one funky sounding line at the beginning, but that might just sound weird out of context. Nami I think matches early Nami pretty well. The only thing we still have to see is if she can act as carefree as Nami acted in early One Piece. Zoro I like the best just from the little we have seen, he just gives off the right vibe. And we don't hear Sanji or Usopp or anyone else talk besides Buggy laughing if you count that, so I can't really weigh in on any of the other acting. Set design and visuals I think are actually perfect. It's hard to say something is perfect, but the sets actually look far better than they do in the anime and manga, and I think the visuals of the live action are just insanely good. Luffy's stretching looks a little funky, but just think, in live action, could it literally be any better? I don't think it could. Also, I get a good tropical piratey feel from the scenes, which is, how it should be. One thing I noticed, and you might have noticed as well, is we don't see Sanji with a cigarette at all. I looked very closely here, but nope, no cigarette. It's possible he's just not going to be a smoker in the live action, but I just think they're going to have him smoking often, but he won't always have one in his mouth like he does in the anime and manga. Another thing I noticed is that we don't really see any dramatic or serious scenes, so I'm curious to see how those types of scenes will play out in the live action. Of the little fighting we see, I think it looks really good. Zoro's fighting looks super clean, and Luffy and Nami we don't see enough to make a decision on if they look good or not, but I think Luffy falling down is hilarious, and it makes me think they will do a great job infusing humor into the live action. They are slightly changing things here and there. Shanks was never on a boat during the Luffy getting kidnapped thing, but it makes sense to easier show what is happening. Also, Nami didn't fight with them in the courtyard, she was off trying to find stuff to steal, so that is a slight change. Also, Zoro fighting Mr. 7 is something that canonically happens, but we don't see it in the anime or manga, so it's interesting to be able to see that. Also, Sanji doesn't have the curly eyebrows, and Usopp doesn't have the long nose, but personally I think this was the right call for the live action. With all the changes we know of, they all seem small and pretty much just unimportant. Overall, I think the most important thing we learned from the teaser trailer is the feel they are going for with the series. What I mean by that is that when you watch or read One Piece, more than any other series, you feel like you are stepping into a different world. A world that works differently with different rules, and there are different expectations for how people act. And watching this teaser, I got that feel. The feel that everything is weird, and that makes nothing weird. It feels like a world of its own that wasn't created through our world's standards. And I'm not trying to say everything looks perfect. I think some of the dialogue sounded funky, some of the hair looked too fake or wig-like, and honestly I would have preferred Alvida to be the same size as the anime and manga. But overall, after watching this teaser, I'm even more optimistic for the live action than I already was. I think it's looking extremely promising, and I can't wait to see the final product. Subscribe to see future One Piece live action news. Thank you for watching, stay slippery, butter out.
Can't You can run, but you can't hide. Can't